So in this lesson, I'm going to be talking about vocal injury, and I'm really just going to share with you my personal experience with vocal injury. Like I mentioned before, it took me out of commission for about a year and a half. But just to start off, what I was experiencing was muscular dysphonia, nodules or nodes, which I'm sure you've heard of, and swelling from acid reflux. So basically what happened was I was coming straight out of music school. I moved to New York City and I just started gigging every other day, and I'd never done that before. So I was really just overexerting myself, but I was excited about it, so I didn't really think it was a problem. That was the goal to begin with, you know? So I didn't know that anything was wrong until about a year in. I started noticing a change in my tone, and I also realized that I felt a lot of pain when I was singing. So at that point, I didn't know anything about vocal injury, so I was like, okay, so like I'm in like my early mid-20s now. I'm just getting older. My voice is changing. Maybe I'm just like not supposed to be doing this. It doesn't sound good and it doesn't feel good and it's not fun anymore. But then I was like, no, I have to make sure I figure out. I know that everything is okay, and I just wanted to rule out anything that was happening physically. So I went to a lot of different doctors. So I went to my primary care doctor, who referred me to an ENT. So I saw about 3 different ENTs, and they all prescribed me like omeprazole, which is just antacid, like acid suppressors. And none of that worked for me. And they just kept upping the dose and upping the dose. And they would all tell me that this was really, really bad for my body, but it was going to help with my reflux. But I didn't see a change. I didn't see what was going on. I didn't see a change in what I was experiencing vocally either. But I also didn't feel any better. So the last ENT that I saw said that he had a colleague of his who specifically worked with singers and that he was amazing. So that's when I met Dr. Jonathan Aviv. And he specialized in acid reflux, but also working, with singers, like I said. So I knew immediately that he was different because he was talking about some of the singers that he had worked with, but what he immediately did was scope me. So they basically put the scope down your nose, down your esophagus, and then they take pictures. It's really uncomfortable, but he was able to take pictures and show me exactly what was happening to my vocal cords. I had a ton of swelling from acid reflux. So then I knew that I was suffering from acid reflux. I was eating the wrong foods every day. I wasn't taking care of myself the way that I should have been. So then I was swelling a ton. Then on top of that, I was doing all of these gigs and I'm straining with, that kind of technique, the like singing more like with strain in your voice. So I was pushing a lot through a really swollen throat and vocal cords. And then that's where I developed muscular dysphonia and my nodules. So luckily the node that I had was really, really small. I like to call it like almost a pre-node. So I didn't have to get surgery. I just needed speech therapy, but I also needed speech therapy for the muscular dysphonia, which is when your vocal cords don't vibrate correctly. So the way I was experiencing that as a singer was I didn't have any control over my voice. And it was really difficult to hit certain pitches. It was hard to sustain notes. And I just never experienced that before. Something was actually wrong. So it was really comforting to know that there was something physically going on. And it wasn't just that I was getting older and that my voice was changing for no reason. I was making the wrong decisions for myself. And just to speak on that a little bit more too, it was really, really devastating at the same time. Like there was some comfort, but I also realized I have to make a lot of changes in my lifestyle. I had to talk differently, like I was mentioning before, talking with a lot less strain. So I felt like in my day-to-day life, my personality was different because I was talking in this weird sort of Mickey Mouse voice, sort of like Ariana Grande. She is a really great example of someone who talks a little bit higher on purpose so that she can, sustain a long and healthy vocal career. But I did that for about a year and a half. And it was just like, it was really hard because I couldn't work for, like I said, a year and a half. And I wasn't making connections with people. I wasn't able to network as much as I needed to, but I had to take a really long break from just singing in general. But it also made me feel like I was a bad singer. It made me feel like I wasn't meant to do this. because I was, making the wrong decisions for myself. It made me feel like I had really bad technique. But what I want to say about that is when you do experience vocal injury to that extent or worse, or even a little bit less, you might feel like, oh, only bad singers experience vocal injury. That is just not true. So the technique that I was using before was, again, I was sort of pushing a lot from my throat rather than using a lot of core engagement to take the strain away. I have a lot of singer colleagues who are incredibly talented and sing a lot more than me. They gig a lot more than me, and they sound amazing and they feel good. It doesn't hurt them. Their vocal cords are just stronger than mine in that sense. They're able to use that sort of technique, sort of the more throaty way of singing, and they're super successful and prospering, thriving. It just didn't work for me. So I had to find technique that was just different and that worked for my specific vocal cords. And that just meant taking a lot of strain away from the way that I was singing, but also the way that I was talking. So please don't ever feel like you're a bad singer, because I can tell you right now, every professional singer that you admire has gone through some degree of vocal injury. They just don't talk about it because there is this stigma about vocal injury. But if you do notice symptoms of vocal injury, go to an ENT and make sure that you ask that you get scoped so that you can actually see your vocal cords and your throat, see what's going on. If they don't suggest that right off the bat, find an ENT that actually specifically works with singers, because that's who you want to see. I was really lucky enough to work with Andy Schneider, who was a speech pathologist that my doctor referred me to, and she changed the way that I spoke, the way that I sang, and I just did so much research, and I picked her brain about all of this stuff. So a lot of the tips, again, that I'm sharing in this course are from her, but also from Dr. Aviv. But some of the symptoms that you can watch out for are inconsistency in your tone, a change in your range if you feel more limited, if you're coughing and choking a lot, especially at night, if you feel like you're being woken up by coughing and choking, probably means that you have acid reflux, a burning sensation in your chest, feeling different every time you sing, not knowing how your voice is going to come out, but feeling fatigued and tense all the time, and if you have lack of vocal control. I'm not going to go over every single different type of vocal injury because I'm not a doctor. This is just my specific personal experience, but those are some things that you definitely want to watch out for. But another thing to keep in mind, if you are experiencing symptoms like this, and if your doctor does say that you are experiencing some kind of vocal injury, find a vocal instructor who does understand vocal injury and can hear that something is wrong. So you want to work with professionals when you are experiencing something like that. And in our next lesson, we're going to be talking about daily habits that you can implement into your life.